For years, we've watched AIs get smarter and smarter, right? But what if we've been missing the secret of how they're actually thinking? Well, it turns out the smartest AIs, they might not be thinking alone at all. Okay, let's dive into this.
So this is the central mystery we're tackling. We know they can solve these incredibly complex problems, but what's actually going on inside that black box? What's the character of their thinking that's driving all this success? To figure this out, researchers looked at two different types of AI. So on one side, you've got your standard models. You give them an instruction, they follow it. Simple. But now, a whole new class has emerged, these reasoning models. And they're built less like order takers and more like, well, expert puzzle solvers. And they are dramatically better at it.
Now, for a while, the theory was pretty simple. These new models were just better because they produced a longer chain of thought. More steps equals a better answer. But the data shows that's just not the whole story. The real breakthrough here isn't about the quantity of thought, it's about the quality and the structure of it.
And that leads us to the core puzzle. If it's not just more computing power, what's the secret cognitive trick these AIs have picked up?
And here it is. This is the big reveal from the research. The theory is called the Society of Thought, and it suggests that these advanced AIs aren't thinking with a single monolithic mind, but by simulating a whole group of diverse thinkers, all inside their own code.
So here's the key idea. The AI is essentially hosting its own internal debate. It's like a committee meeting to solve a problem. It comes up with multiple viewpoints, it argues with itself, and it finds a better answer through that simulated social process.
And what's so fascinating is that this isn't some weird machine trick. It actually mirrors what cognitive scientists think about us humans. This quote right here argues that human reason itself was basically born from social debate. We got smarter by arguing with each other. And it looks like AI has learned that exact same lesson.
This is really the best way to picture it. Instead of just one voice, imagine a whole chorus. You've got one persona that throws out wild, creative ideas, you've got another that fact-checks every single detail, and then there's a third that's just a total skeptic, questioning every assumption. It's that dynamic that leads to really robust answers. So, okay, that's the theory. It sounds cool, but how did the researchers prove this internal conversation is actually happening? Let's get to the evidence. Now, I know this slide has a lot going on, but just focus on the pink. Researchers analyzed the AI's thought process for conversational stuff, asking questions, shifting perspective. And as you can see, the reasoning models, the pink ones, are just off the charts compared to the standard models. They are literally talking to themselves way, way more. And you can actually hear this debate in the AI's own output. I love this. In one task, you see it catch its own mistake. Wait, that's not a word. And in another, a different voice pipes up to check the quality, saying they shouldn't add new ideas that weren't in the source material. That's the internal committee at work, right there. Okay, this is where it gets really wild. Using a technique called feature steering, scientists figured out how to isolate the specific neural pathways linked to this conversational behavior. They basically gave the AI a dial to turn that feature up or down. And the result was just stunning. When they cranked up a single feature related to conversational surprise, that oh moment you get in a good discussion, the AI's accuracy on a complex math puzzle more than doubled. It shot up from 27% to nearly 55%. That's a direct causal link. Conversation literally makes it better at math. But it's not just about having a conversation, right? The quality of that conversation really depends on who's in the room. And this leads us to the next key finding, the power of having a diverse internal team. So this chart shows the personality profiles of these internal voices. The key thing to notice is just how much wider the spread is for the reasoning models. They have more neuroticism, which sounds bad, but in this case it means more self-criticism, more caution. They have more openness, which means more creativity. It's not an echo chamber, it's a team of specialists. So who exactly is on this team? Well, the research identified some really distinct personas. You've got your critical verifier, who questions everything. You have the creative ideator, brainstorming new paths. There's a semantic fidelity checker, making sure it stays on topic. And then an expert association maker, who's connecting all these different ideas. So the crucial point here is that the AI has stumbled upon a fundamental truth of collaboration. It doesn't matter if it's a boardroom full of people or a set of algorithms. Cognitive diversity, just bringing different ways of thinking to a problem, is the absolute key to smarter outcomes. So all of this brings up a fascinating question. Can this social skill be taught? Well, the final experiment did just that. And the results, they're pretty incredible for the future of AI.
Just take a look at this before and after. On the left, you've got an AI early in its training, and it's thinking in a simple straight line, a monologue. But after they trained it by just rewarding it for getting the right answer, look what happened on the right. It spontaneously developed a multi-voice dialogue, with different personas expressing doubt and exploring other options. It literally learned to argue, because arguing works.
And this graph just brilliantly shows the power of having that structure. The researchers gave one AI a conversational template to start with. That's the red line you see just shooting upwards. It learned to reason correctly so much faster than the AI that had to start with a monologue style. That social structure acted like a scaffold, and it just accelerated its learning like crazy.
Which brings us to the big takeaway here. For so long, the mantra in AI has been computational scaling. Just build bigger and bigger models. But this research suggests a whole new path, social scaling. The key might not just be more raw power, but better internal organization, better collaboration.
So you can see this clear evolution in how AI thinks. It started out by just following instructions. Then it learned to show its work with a chain of thought. And now, it really seems like the next frontier is for the AI to become a host for its very own internal society of thought.
And that leaves us with one last big question. As we keep pushing the boundaries of intelligence, should we be focused on building these enormous monuments of computation, or should we be teaching our machines the ancient human art of a really, really good argument?